Hi, welcome to Testing with RK. In this session, we will be creating our very first console application, and we will be discussing about the features within Visual Studio. So let's switch to Visual Studio. When you click on the launch, when you launch your Visual Studio, this is the interface it should come up with. It will show all the projects that were previously open here. You can either clone the projects from existing GitHub repository or Git repositories, but the feature that we will be interested today is create a new project. Okay, so when you click create on a new project, what we want to do is that we want to create in C# Windows application. Let me clear all first of all. So this is how it looks like. We want to select C#, we want to build on Windows, and we want to have a console application. And over here you will see console app.NET and .NET Core and .NET Framework. Now .NET Framework is the older version and .NET Core is the latest version. We will be training on .NET Core, and moving ahead the .NET Framework is no more supported anyway, so it's best to practice everything on .NET Core. So select that, click next. We will be naming our project as C# basic training, and we will be naming our solution same as that as well, and we will click create, and this should create the application for us. You would see it has various elements here. We will talk about them step by step. First of all, on the right you could see something called Solution Explorer. What this is basically it is displaying the solution on a very top level, which is C# basic training, and the projects underneath it. We can create multiple projects within the same solution. Why do we want to do that? In real world, what will happen is that in any given project we will have all the code developed by the developers sitting here, but also we will have the test project sitting under the same solution. But anyway, all of that we will be discussing later in the later videos, so let's not worry about it for now. On the left, if you see, this is your main coding area where you will see a namespace and class and then method. Class, methods, we will be discussing about them in the later videos, but for now, if you just look at how it is, every console application will have something called main method. This is the starting point. Anything that you want to print on main method you will have to do using console.writeLine, and anything that you put under the double quotes will be printed onto that console. Now to run this, we will have to right click on the project and click build. What it is doing at this point, it is building, and over here it says that build 1 succeeded, 0 failed, and so on and so forth. To run it now, I can run from here, or I can simply go click that one, and as you see it says hello world. Now I know that we haven't discussed much about main method and console writeLine and all that, but we will be discussing them in detail in the later videos. But what I really want to discuss in this video is that the idea of building, idea of compiling your project, and idea about running them. Now when I was running this particular piece of code, you would have seen that I right clicked on it and I clicked something called build. Once it was built, then I ran. Now let's try to understand what we talk about, what we mean when we say build. In your career you would hear people saying let's build the project, or compile the project. What it means is that your source code is human readable code. Basically everything that we can see in this code, we can read it, console, writeLine, hello and world. Whereas the machine does not understand all of that. The machine understands the language of ones and zero, the binary code. So we have someone in the middle who compiles that code from a human understandable language to a machine understandable language, and that job is done by the compiler. Now when in that particular project, when I say right click build, what it is doing is basically it's taking the source code, compiling it, and then producing a binary code, and the C# engine is using this binary code to run the project. So compile project and DLL. Now that's an interesting one. Every time we compile our source code, so basically what I mean is that we have written a piece of code, we right click, build them, the compiler is compiling, basically translating it to a machine understandable language. It will generate a file with the extension .dll, which is dynamic link libraries, and the C# engine uses this .dll file to run your program. Now if I go in here and if I right click and say open folder in the file explorer, it will open up this window where we have our code. Every time we build a project, all the files, so all the job that is done by this compiler is stored within this folder called bin. Now you would see a folder called debug. The reason why I have a folder called debug is because we are working in the debug mode. If I change this mode to release mode, we will find another folder within there. Let me bring that up. Okay, now if I go in the debug mode, you will see .NET Core 3.1. That's the framework, target framework we are working on. Don't worry about them for now. We will be discussing them in the later videos, but when I double click on it, I will see that it has generated something called C# basic training.dll. That's the project I have, and that's the DLL that is being published here. We do have multiple operations that we can do. Sometime you would hear people saying clean your project and rebuild it. When they say clean your project, what it means is that when I click clean and it says cleaned, succeeded, what basically it means is that everything that is available that was generated by your compiler in this folder is destroyed, cleaned, deleted. When I click build again, what it does is that it generates all these files, and you could see the time it generates all these files. Now you may not want to clean and rebuild your project every time, and that's why we have another option called rebuilding. Basically what it does is that if I, for example, if I print something new now, say right line, welcome to the world of automation, followed by semicolon. Okay, when I rebuild it, what will happen is that the compiler is looking at the code. It will only go to the piece of code which is being added into the program, and it will only specifically compile this piece of code and generate the new DLL. Rebuilding is usually much faster than building because it's only compiling the new piece of code. So rebuild, and you will say rebuild all succeeded. If I want to run now, it will print hello world, welcome to the world of automation. Great. Please remember that every statement that we are executing in C# ends with semicolon. Semicolon is a way of saying that this particular statement is ended and this could be executed. In our next session, we will be discussing about variables and data types, and that's where it will get more interesting. For now, that's it. Thank you very much for watching this, and we will see you all in the next session. Thank you.